Ethan Blackwood had everything a man could want: wealth, power, and a life carefully curated to avoid pain. The only thing missing was a child. After a devastating heartbreak years ago, love was off the table. So he hired a surrogate, expecting a transaction, a clear arrangement. No attachments, no emotions, no complications. But then Lena Moore walked into his life, a woman nothing like he had imagined. Honest, warm, and stubbornly human. She was there to carry his child and nothing more, or so he thought. As the months passed, rules blurred. Late-night conversations turned into shared laughter. Silent glances became a language only they understood. Ethan realized, far too late, that he wasn't just falling for the woman carrying his child. He was losing his heart to her entirely. And when a single phone call from the clinic hinted at a possible mistake in the embryo transfer, everything he believed about control, love, and family was thrown into chaos. Because the child he was meant to have might not even be his. Before diving into the gripping details of this story, don't forget to share where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories. Ethan Blackwood did not believe in love anymore. Love had failed him once, spectacularly, leaving behind a quiet penthouse, a successful empire, and a longing that echoed every time he saw a child laughing in the park below his office window. He wanted a family, not romance. A legacy, not heartbreak. That was why he chose surrogacy. And that was how Lena Moore walked into his life. She was nothing like the polished candidates his lawyers had shortlisted. She arrived late to the interview, hair loosely tied, a faint ink smudge on her fingers from the children's books she illustrated for a living. Her eyes were warm, guarded, and impossibly honest. "I'm not desperate," she said calmly, meeting his gaze. "I just believe in helping someone have what they can't on their own." Something in Ethan shifted, but he ignored it. They signed the contract. Clear rules. No emotional involvement. No personal attachment. Once the child was born, their lives would separate cleanly. At least, that was the plan. Weeks turned into months. Appointments became routines. Routines turned into shared coffees, quiet laughter, and conversations that lingered long after they were supposed to end. Ethan found himself memorizing the way Lena cradled her stomach when she was tired, how she talked to the baby when she thought no one was listening. And Lena, she tried to keep her heart locked away. But it was hard not to notice how Ethan softened around her. How the sharp, untouchable businessman became gentle when he listened to the baby's heartbeat. How he looked at her sometimes as if she were something rare and fragile, something he was afraid to touch. One rainy night, everything changed. A sudden storm. A missed appointment. A long drive back to his estate. When the power went out, they were left with candlelight and truths neither had planned to confess. "I never wanted this to be complicated," Ethan said quietly. Lena swallowed. "Neither did I." Their eyes met, and the distance between them disappeared. It was a mistake. And it was everything. From that night on, nothing was simple. Guilt tangled with desire. Fear battled hope. Lena began to wonder if she was falling in love with a man who could never truly choose her. Ethan wrestled with a truth that terrified him. He didn't just want the child anymore. He wanted her. Then the doctor's call came. Complications. A decision that could change everything. Ethan rushed to the hospital, heart pounding, only to overhear Lena speaking to the nurse through the partially open door. "If something happens," Lena said softly, tears in her voice, "promise me he'll never know how much I loved him." This was never part of the contract. Ethan froze. Loved him? His hand hovered over the door handle as a single, terrifying question took root in his chest. Was he about to lose the woman who had given him everything before he ever told her she had stolen his heart? Ethan pushed the door open. "Lena!" Her head snapped up. For a moment, fear crossed her face. Fear not for herself, but for what he might have heard. The machines hummed steadily, cruelly calm compared to the chaos inside his chest. "How much?" he asked hoarsely. "How much did you mean?" Silence filled the room. Lena looked away, fingers tightening in the sheets. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "Answer me," he said, stepping closer. "Was any of this real to you?" Her eyes glistened. "That's the problem, Ethan. It was too real. The words hit him harder than any rejection ever had. She took a shaky breath. I told myself I was just carrying a child. I told myself you were just a man who needed help. But somewhere between the late-night cravings and the way you looked at me like I mattered, I stopped pretending. Ethan reached for her hand, then hesitated. Then why are you trying to disappear without saying anything? Because this baby is yours, she whispered fiercely. And if something happens to me, I don't want you torn apart by guilt or obligation. You deserve joy, not another loss tied to your name. His jaw clenched. You don't get to decide that for me. Their eyes locked, emotion crackling between them. Before either could say more, the doctor entered, expression unreadable. We need to talk, she said. There's something you both need to know. Ethan's heart dropped. The doctor glanced at Lena, then back at Ethan. The complications aren't just medical. There's an issue with the embryo transfer. The results we received today suggest that. A sudden alarm cut her off. Monitors began to beep faster. Lena gasped, clutching her stomach. Ethan. He grabbed her hand this time, refusing to let go. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You hear me? Nurses rushed in. The doctor barked orders. Curtains were drawn halfway, separating Ethan from her trembling form. As they wheeled Lena toward the operating room, she looked back at him, eyes filled with love and fear and something that looked heartbreakingly like goodbye. Ethan, she called out weakly. If I don't make it. Don't, he said, voice breaking. Don't say that. But she smiled through tears. Promise me you'll love this child enough for both of us. The doors slammed shut. Ethan stood alone in the hallway, hands shaking, as the doctor's unfinished sentence echoed in his mind. There's an issue with the embryo transfer. And for the first time since he decided to build a family without love, Ethan realized the cruelest truth of all. He might lose the woman he loved, and the child he wasn't even sure was his. Ethan sank into the hard plastic chair outside the operating room, head in his hands. Time became meaningless, measured only by the rhythm of his heartbeat and the red light above the door that refused to turn off. He replayed every moment with Lena. Every smile. Every argument. Every rule they'd broken. I should have told her sooner. Footsteps approached. Ethan looked up, hope flaring, then faltering when he saw a woman he didn't recognize. Elegant. Controlled. Familiar in a way that made his stomach twist. Ethan Blackwood? She asked. Yes. I'm Dr. Caldwell, head of the fertility clinic where the procedure was performed. Her lips pressed into a thin line. We need to speak privately. His chest tightened. Is Lena? She's in surgery, Dr. Caldwell said gently. This is about the embryo. Ethan stood, heart hammering. What about it? She hesitated. There was a data breach at the clinic 6 months ago. Records were compromised. We believed everything was corrected. Believed. Ethan's blood ran cold. You're not making sense. Dr. Caldwell met his eyes. There's a possibility, small but real, that Lena may not be carrying the embryo we intended. The world tilted. What do you mean not mine? He demanded. We won't know for sure until further testing, she said carefully. But there is evidence suggesting a mix-up. Ethan staggered back into the chair. If the child wasn't his, then Lena had risked her life for a lie. Or worse, for someone else's child. The operating room doors burst open. A nurse hurried toward him. Mr. Blackwood, you need to come now. He jumped up. Is she okay? The nurse's expression was impossible to read. She's asking for you. He followed, heart in his throat, as they led him into recovery. Lena lay pale against white sheets, eyes fluttering open when she sensed him near. Relief washed over her face. You stayed, she whispered. I told you, he said, voice shaking. I'm not going anywhere. Her fingers curled weakly around his. Ethan, there's something I need to tell you. His breath caught. So do I. She swallowed. Before the transfer, I almost backed out. I didn't think I could do this without falling apart. He leaned closer. Lena, I need you to know, she continued softly, that no matter what happens next, loving you was never a mistake. Tears burned his eyes. Before he could answer, the doctor stepped in, holding a clipboard. "The baby's heartbeat is stable," she said. But the test results just came back. Ethan squeezed Lena's hand as the doctor took a breath. "We now know who the biological father is." Lena's eyes widened in fear. Ethan's heart stopped. The doctor looked at him, then slowly turned the clipboard around. And Ethan realized the truth was about to tear their fragile world apart. Because if the name on that page wasn't his, everything they'd built would shatter in a single heartbeat. Ethan stared at the clipboard as if it were a foreign language. His hand tightened around Lena's, sweat prickling his palms. Lena's shallow breaths matched his own, and for a moment, the world outside the room disappeared. The beeping machines, the sterile smell, the cold fluorescent light, all gone, leaving only them and the truth that hovered between them like a storm. He blinked slowly, trying to prepare himself for the words he didn't want to hear. Dr. Caldwell's voice cut through the silence. "The test confirms the biological father is not Ethan Blackwood." The world tilted. Lena's grip on his hand faltered, her lips parting as though to speak, but no sound came. Ethan's mind raced, images flashing violently, their laughter, the late-night talks, the stolen touches in the clinic corridor, everything he thought had been theirs. "No," he whispered, shaking his head. This can't be right." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, I swear, I didn't know. Wait," he said sharply, standing and pacing. "Then who?" Dr. Caldwell held up a hand. "We need to be absolutely certain. There's a possibility of a clerical error with the testing, but the result is consistent across 2 separate labs. The odds are extremely high." Ethan stopped pacing. His chest felt like it was being crushed. "So, all this time, the baby I've been loving before it was even born," his voice cracked, "might not be mine?" Lena reached for him, desperation in her eyes. "Ethan, please. Look at me. This baby, our baby, I've carried them. I've loved them. Her words collided with the storm inside him. Anger, betrayal, heartache. And yet, in the quiet corners of his mind, there was a stubborn, aching truth. He didn't care whose blood ran through the child's veins. He had already fallen. Completely. And somehow, terrifyingly, irrevocably, hopelessly, he had fallen for Lena too. But now there was a wall between them. One that even love might not scale. Ethan took a shaky breath. "We can't just pretend this didn't happen, Lena. I need time." "No," she said firmly, gripping his hands. "We don't have time. The baby's heartbeat, everything's fine for now, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I need you here. I need us here." He looked down at her, torn between the fear of losing her and the betrayal of the revelation. "I don't even know who that baby belongs to, but I know I can't leave you." Before he could say more, the doctor's pager beeped urgently. Dr. Caldwell's eyes went wide as she glanced at the monitor. "Something's happening." The baby's heart rate. The monitor's steady beep turned into a rapid, jagged alarm. Lena screamed, clutching her belly. Ethan dove to her side, holding her as the room erupted into chaos. And in that instant, nothing else mattered, not biology, not contracts, not mistakes. Only the two of them, and the life that hung between them, fragile, unknown, and entirely theirs. As the alarms screamed louder, Ethan whispered, more to himself than to her, "I don't care whose child this is. I'm not letting go." The door burst open, and a nurse shouted, "We need to move her, now." Ethan tightened his grip, refusing to let her go, and for the first time, he realized that love had no rules, and sometimes, it demanded leaps into the unknown. But as the team rushed them down the corridor, the shadows of uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Because in that moment, one chilling truth remained unanswered. Was the child he loved truly his? Or had fate given him a love story he wasn't meant to survive? The corridor blurred as Ethan ran alongside the stretcher, heart hammering in his chest. The alarms echoed in his ears, but all he could focus on was Lena, the fragile, fierce woman who had stolen his heart without even trying. "She's going to be okay," he muttered to himself, though every instinct screamed otherwise. The operating room doors swung open, and the team whisked Lena inside. Ethan was forced to wait, pacing the cold hallway, hands clenched, mind a storm of fear and love and regret. Minutes felt like hours. Then the surgeon emerged, pulling off her mask. "Mr. Blackwood, the procedure went smoothly. Both mother and baby are stable." Ethan's knees nearly gave way. "Stable?" he repeated, voice trembling. "Stable," the surgeon confirmed. "The baby is strong. Lena will recover. And there was no complication with the embryo transfer after all. The test results were a clerical error." Ethan's chest heaved with relief and disbelief. The weight that had pressed on him for weeks lifted in an instant. "So, it's mine?" The surgeon smiled faintly. It's yours. Both of you did everything right. She just needs rest now." Ethan barely registered the words before rushing inside. Lena lay pale but smiling weakly, eyes lighting up as she saw him. "You stayed," she whispered, voice raw. "Every second," he said, taking her hand in his. "You scared me half to death, Lena Moore. Do you know that?" She laughed softly, a sound that made his chest ache. "You didn't know the half of it." He leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I should have told you sooner." I know," she interrupted, tears glistening. "I feel the same way." Ethan smiled through his own tears, swallowing the fear and uncertainty that had shadowed them. "You know, I didn't just want this baby. I didn't just want a family. I wanted you." Her hand rested over his heart. "I wanted you too, Ethan. I didn't think I could, but you've always been here." And in that moment, all the walls, all the rules, all the fears melted away. Love didn't need contracts. It didn't need logic. It only needed truth, courage, and a willingness to leap together into the unknown. Months later, in the quiet glow of the nursery, Ethan held the baby close, Lena beside him. Their fingers intertwined over the small, perfect hands that had already stolen their hearts. "You're ours," Ethan whispered to the child, kissing the tiny forehead. Lena rested her head on his shoulder. "Ours," she echoed, smiling. Outside, the city lights shimmered like a promise. The world was vast, unpredictable, and sometimes cruel. But inside that room, with love binding them tighter than any fear or mistake ever could, Ethan knew they had found something unbreakable. And though life would continue to test them, he also knew one thing with certainty. He had lost his heart to a surrogate, and in return, he had found everything he had ever wanted. The storm had passed, but in the quiet, warm glow of the nursery, the future shimmered with infinite possibilities. Sunlight spilled through the large windows of the Blackwood estate, warming the soft pastel walls of the nursery. Ethan and Lena sat side by side on the floor, laughing as their little daughter, Amelia, tottered unsteadily toward them, tiny hands outstretched. "You can do it, baby," Ethan encouraged, holding his arms wide. "Take a step." Amelia wobbled, giggled, and fell into Lena's lap, squealing with delight. Lena hugged her tight, then looked at Ethan, eyes sparkling. "She's fearless," Lena said softly. "Just like you." Ethan chuckled, brushing a stray curl from Amelia's forehead. "And just like you too." For a moment, they sat in perfect silence, letting the joy of the moment settle around them like a warm blanket. The past, the fears, the doubts, the tears, felt like a distant memory. What had once seemed impossible had become their everyday miracle. Ethan leaned back, gazing at Lena. "Do you remember the first time we almost lost everything?" Lena smiled, squeezing his hand. "I do. I also remember thinking I could never love anyone as much as I loved you, and yet, here we are." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "We took the leap. And I'd do it 1,000 times over if it meant having you and Amelia in my life." Amelia tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy, carry me." Laughing, Ethan scooped her up, spinning her gently in the air. Lena laughed along, eyes glistening with tears of joy. Outside, the city thrummed with life, indifferent to the quiet triumph of one family inside a sunlit room. But inside, Ethan and Lena knew something few ever truly feel, a love forged in fear, tested by uncertainty, and sealed in hope. And as Amelia's laughter echoed through the house, The future shimmered, full of promise, mischief, and the endless possibilities of a family bound not by chance, but by the love they had chosen. For Ethan and Lena, the heartache of the past had become the foundation of their happiness, and nothing, not even fate itself, could take that away.